Between confronting a former Power Ranger, saving a dog, and fulfilling a decades-old dream of fans everywhere, Jean-Claude Van Damme has remained busy since the 90s ended. The 1980s and 90s provided Jean-Claude Van Damme with no shortage of hits. Even if the films were never critical darlings, no one cared. They found their audience, and that's all that mattered. However, the 2000s proved to be a strange time for the actor. Movies like 2001's The Order and 2003's In Hell went straight to DVD, struggling to garner the same level of attention as his earlier filmography. In 2008, Van Damme hit a turning point when he played a semi-fictionalized version of himself as a has-been movie star in the crime drama JCVD. The film received praise for its self-awareness and refreshing honesty, earning an 84% critical approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The following year, Van Damme returned to his old stomping grounds in Universal Soldier Regeneration, which brought him and Dolph Lundgren together once again to play the roles of Luke Devereaux and Andrew Scott, respectively. While the two weren't in the story as much as fans may have anticipated, the AV Club's Tom Bryan considered it a movie that gave JCVD's career a necessary boost. Bryan complimented the actor's portrayal of the character, writing, "Van Damme gives a thoughtful, damaged performance as someone who only knows violence." It was a full-circle moment for Van Damme as he began to revisit his past franchises. He returned as Luke Devereaux for 2012's Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning, and he also appeared in 2016's Kickboxer Vengeance and 2018's Kickboxer Retaliation. In 2010, Van Damme had been spotted with then-Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin at a bare-knuckle fighting event in Sochi, Russia. The two were reported to have conversed and shared a meal together in an evening filled with blood-soaked action. In 2019, Van Damme sat down with The Hollywood Reporter to clear the air about the various myths surrounding his career and life, including his encounter with Putin. The Belgian actor explained how they exchanged pleasantries and everything seemed to be going fine. However, events took a turn for the worse when JCVD reached for his bag, which was under his chair. He explained, "I go for my bag to take my chapstick while the fight is happening. As soon as I go to my bag, I've got 20 security guys coming at me." According to Van Damme, Putin's security believed the actor was reaching for a weapon, but he was able to explain himself and matters soon de-escalated. Van Damme's filmography isn't exactly overflowing with family-friendly projects. With all the blood, kicks, and splits, the actor's movies tend to appeal to more mature audiences. However, he took an unexpected leap in 2011 when he appeared in Kung Fu Panda 2. In the animated sequel, he plays the martial arts crocodile known as Master Croc. In the behind-the-scenes interview, Van Damme explains his initial reaction when he was told he would play a crocodile. "I go, a crocodile? But my legs are so short, the front, back. Am I going to be able to kick and everything?" And they told me, "You're going to use your tail a lot."
We're all laughing in the studio.
Director Jennifer Young Nelson explained how she felt a martial arts franchise such as Kung Fu Panda could use a little bit of JCVD magic, and she was happy that he agreed to play the part. The actor himself found it funny that Nelson envisioned him as a crocodile whenever she spoke to him. Van Damme would return to voice the character for 2016's Kung Fu Panda 3. Hollywood is all about the rise and fall. However, even Van Damme's career lull surprised pundits and fans. After all, he had been a bankable and fan-favorite performer for a while, so to see him disappear as he did left many people puzzled about what happened. According to Van Damme, the reason for this is simple. He asked for too much money and was blacklisted from the industry. After 1994's Time Cop made over $100 million, the actor received a bumper offer from Universal Pictures, which would have seen him make $12 million per movie for 3 films. That wasn't enough for him, though, as he wanted $20 million per film like Jim Carrey, who had become one of the biggest movie stars in Hollywood at the time. Speaking to The Guardian, Van Damme said, "I was making movie after movie, and in between movies I was doing promotion. I was tired. Everything I was touching was making money. Jim Carrey was being paid a fortune, and I wanted to play with the system. Like an idiot. Ridiculous." The actor said the studio didn't even entertain the conversation, and it hit his career hard. He added, "I was on the blacklist. That was it."
Whoever you are, you're supposed to make me legit!
In November 2013, Jean-Claude Van Damme found himself making headlines again. This time, it wasn't for a brand new film or his behind-the-scenes behavior. Instead, it involved his iconic pose and a vehicle brand. To show off the stability of its trucks, Volvo released a commercial that showcased Van Damme doing his trademark split between 2 moving trucks to the soundtrack of Enya's Only Time. Naturally, the world paid attention, and the ad racked up more than 118 million views on YouTube alone. Reportedly, this viral marketing worked for Volvo too, as its truck sales increased that same month. The actor admitted to USA Today that he had some apprehension about doing this specific stunt. He explained, "In action films that involve stunts, there's always a risk. I would be less than candid if I didn't admit that I was concerned from time to time. When you're not concerned, you get careless, and then you get hurt." According to JCVD, he nailed it in one take. Van Damme showed he wasn't afraid to get meta by appearing as a fictionalized version of himself in the 2008 film JCVD. He took the chance to do it again in 2016's Jean-Claude Van Johnson. The action comedy series sees Van Damme play himself. However, it's revealed his movie career is simply a cover for his real job as a secret agent. The show ran for a single season on Amazon Prime Video. The role gave Van Damme the opportunity to flex his comedy muscles, and he connected with his character's realization that fame isn't everything it's cut out to be. Speaking to comicbook.com, Jean-Claude Van Johnson director Peter Attenzio recalled that the series was so closely intertwined with Van Damme's own life that it even fooled the actor at one point. One day he came up to me on set and was dead serious, and he just grabbed me by the shoulders and was like, "Peter, be honest with me, there's no show. This is an intervention, yes?" And I was like, "I hate to break it to you, Jean-Claude, but there is definitely a show that we're making. This is not just a therapy session for you." While a 2013 Volvo commercial brought the right kind of attention to Van Damme, the actor took part in another ad that raised a few eyebrows in January 2017. Undoubtedly, it must have been his success with Volvo that drew Australian automotive servicing company Ultratune to seek him out for an appearance in its Unexpected Situations campaign. In the commercial, two women walk toward their car and notice a flat tire. Some nefarious-looking men approach them, asking,
"Your lady's got car trouble?"
Suddenly, Van Damme steps out of a nearby car, readying himself to fight off the group before they erupt into total fanboy euphoria and ask for selfies with the movie star. In the end, Van Damme explains how he won't always be around to help, but Ultratune is. Ultratune released two versions of the ad. A controversial iteration featured one of the men swinging a baseball bat at the car's headlights before JCVD's arrival. This resulted in the commercial being banned by Australia's Ad Standards Board for showcasing violence and threatening behavior towards women, as per Umbrella. Ultratune denied the allegation before accepting the ruling and agreeing to modify the ad. At Comic-Con in Mexico in 2017, footage leaked of Power Rangers actor Jason David Frank and Van Damme in some kind of heated confrontation. Speaking to Flow Combat, Frank acknowledged the pair may have had issues from years earlier. It began when Van Damme reportedly snubbed Frank at the premiere of 1995's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. Then, in 2010, Frank challenged Van Damme to a fight after hearing the actor wanted someone to battle, though he heard nothing back. Fast forward to 2017, when the promoter of the convention asked Frank if Van Damme could share his green room. Frank agreed, but was then barred from using his room. Later, Van Damme's entourage invited Frank to take a photo with the actor. When Van Damme came out of the room, Frank noticed several people had cameras out, and he claimed he was confronted by Van Damme in an aggressive manner about his 2010 challenge. Frank didn't back down and locked JCVD in a hold against the wall before security pulled them apart. In a later interview with Metro, Van Damme denied Frank's version of events, saying, "All he's saying is bullshit. All he's saying doesn't exist. This guy, I just say hello to him in Mexico. He came at me. I say hello, and that's it." Van Damme loves dogs and has many of his own at home. However, the actor's adoration for pups goes beyond the ones in his care. In 2020, the action star intervened in a story that had made international headlines. Reports emerged out of Norway that a Chihuahua called Rhea was set to be euthanized because of inaccurate documentation when she entered the country from Bulgaria. Rhea's owner started an online petition to save his dog, which came to the attention of JCVD. Subsequently, the actor posted a video on social media about Rhea. He asked his followers to sign the petition and pledged his financial assistance while also pleading with the authorities to not put down the dog. Van Damme's public support, coupled with the rise in petition signatures, resulted in the Norwegian officials announcing that Rhea would not be euthanized and would be sent back to Bulgaria. After 3 decades of fighting for the fate of Earthrealm, Mortal Kombat continues to be one of the premier video game franchises. While the concept was always going to be about throwing punches and kicks, the game could have looked much different had the original concept turned out as anticipated. According to Polygon, Midway Games' John Tobias and Ed Boon pitched Van Damme the arcade game to JCVD using a character resembling his Bloodsport protagonist Frank Dukes. They were turned down, but they reworked the character to become egotistical action star Johnny Cage, and included him in the game that kickstarted the global phenomenon known as Mortal Kombat. For years afterward, fans begged for JCVD to portray Cage in a live-action adaptation. The actor even suggested he would be open to the opportunity if it came around. Finally, their worlds collided and Van Damme was cast as Cage. However, this wasn't a movie or TV show. Instead, JCVD was added as an alternate skin for the character in 2023's Mortal Kombat 1. Not only did Cage have Van Damme's likeness here, but he also had his voice, as the Belgian actor provided a host of smashing one-liners to delight players.
"It will be great. I'll be a kickboxer, you a street fighter."
In October 2023, Van Damme decided to get into the whiskey game. The actor explained to Hospitality Ireland how he had wanted to launch his own brand of whiskey for a while. After consulting with his inner circle about the idea, a business partner suggested he explore what Ireland had to offer. Van Damme explained, "He then introduced me to the Old Oak whiskey label, which had yet to be launched and had been put together by some whiskey aficionados in Ireland." According to the official website, this relationship makes sense, stating, "Old Oak Irish whiskey embodies the dynamic spirit and boundless energy of Jean-Claude Van Damme." Like Batman and Joker or Superman and Lex Luthor, Van Damme and Steven Seagal appeared doomed to be arch-rivals for the remainder of their time on Earth. The rumored feud between the pair kicked off in 1991 during an appearance on the Arsenio Hall show in which Seagal questioned JCVD's martial arts credentials. It has only continued since then, with the actors taking passive-aggressive and sometimes outright aggressive shots at each other whenever the opportunity presents itself. While the heat appeared to have cooled down around 2015, Van Damme reignited the flames of controversy in 2023. In a conversation with The Telegraph, JCVD couldn't help himself when the topic of his longtime nemesis came up. In cheeky fashion, he explained that a strategy to defeat Seagal in a fight would be to tire him out, then questioned Seagal's fitness level and called him overweight. Van Damme also revealed that Mandalay Entertainment CEO and Hollywood executive Peter Guber had once tried to orchestrate a fight night between the action stars. As Van Damme explained, "They were having an idea to have a fight between me and Steven at the Mirage, $20 million each. He didn't take the fight."